despite really flashy demos where you see robots doing really cool things, robots are still frustratingly bad. It's not a hardware problem, it's a model and data problem. So that's where PrismaX comes in. PrismaX is building the infrastructure not only for factories, but also for everyday environments like homes, roads, etc. Now, this is a short, condensed version of our in-depth deep dive on Robotic Alpha. So Robotic Alpha is our Substack newsletter. You can go check it out. It's completely free. And we go very deep into PrismaX and their business model, what they're doing. So let's get right into it. The problem, think about your Roomba. Roombas are still just getting stuck everywhere. They're still basically painful to use. And like I've said a million times in the series, in the Substack, right now robotics really lacks scalable real-world training data. LLMs have trillions of data points. Robotics have a fraction, maybe like a 1,000th or 1/10,000th of that. And what that means is it's really tough to build out proper robotics models when you have such small data sets. Autonomous machines need better data infrastructure and much more data to actually be able to scale robotics and make it work better. So PrismaX is focused on developing full autonomy. PrismaX is not just a, hey, we're going to build our own robot company. They're actually focused on an infrastructure stack to help other robotic companies build smarter robots or to upgrade their current robots. So they essentially are taking an ecosystem approach where they're building a teleoperation platform where robot owners, factories, as well as teleoperators can all come together. PrismaX is also backed by top investors such as AI16Z, Stanford Blockchain Fund, Symbolic, and a few others. So what is the flywheel? The first is teleoperation. Now, what teleoperation is basically, it's when you control a robot remotely, right? So, or you fly a drone remotely, that's teleoperation. Now, the reason teleoperation is key is because when you are teleoperating, you're actually generating useful data, right? It's basically, you can use that data to train robots. So your movements when you're adjusting a joystick actually can be extremely useful for training robots as well. That data is then fed into AI models, and now you have better models because you have better data, right? So that's kind of what creates this flywheel. And then you have this feedback loop that comes in, improves teleoperation even further, because now instead of you having to manage one robot with 100% attention, now you could maybe manage 10 robots and you just step in when one of them gets stuck. So essentially it allows you to scale kind of robotics because now you just need a human in the loop. You don't need a human doing it all. Let's talk about the PrismaX coordination layer. This kind of breaks everything down. So the basic gist of it is you have robot users, right? So let's say end companies that need robots for certain tasks. It could even be individuals who are like, hey, I need a cleaning robot, right? So they're requesting services, and then these teleoperators can actually manage these tasks by teleoperation. What this does is it creates data that is then pushed back to the robotic companies to improve their models, right? Because you have these teleoperators doing tasks in a certain way. Maybe the robot gets stuck somewhere. The teleoperator has to figure out how to get the robot out of there. And that data is then used to obviously build like an edge case scenario, like it's used as training data for these robotic companies. Now, if you're a fleet owner, let's say you own a bunch of these robots and then people are renting them out or using them, etc., you are essentially able to go and hire these teleoperators to go and perform these services. Now, in many cases, the robot end user and the fleet owners are the same company, and then it ends up just being three parties. But the whole idea here is teleoperators perform the tasks, right? And you kind of need a trained army of teleoperators to make this scalable. But then you also have the robotic companies taking the data and improving their basically robots. And then that yields better and better cost efficiencies in the future as you need less teleoperators for the same number of robots. And then obviously for these fleet owners, they're getting better efficiency. They're getting upgrades on their robots, right? So imagine like essentially getting a 6-month firmware update where your robots now are just like much better, right? So obviously there's a lot in it for them if you're an end company that owns like 20 or 30 of these robots that are performing these tasks. So what does this look like in practice? There's a browser and VR-ready teleoperation stack, so people can go out and start using and learning teleoperation. I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of people who used to play Axie Infinity or these kind of like crypto games, because this is kind of like something similar, but you're generating real economic value here. There's also an on-chain marketplace for jobs and data. So everything's gonna run through on crypto rails, and then you're gonna be able to apply for jobs, start doing teleoperation there. And then there'll be an eval engine that filters for high quality contributors who get basically rewarded more. So what this does is robots become earning assets. So robots robots are earning revenue because you're basically deploying them in different situations, and then you have teleoperators operating them partially or fully and generating that data. That then creates better models. So PrismaX data then can be used to create better models for these robots, which again creates like, this flywheel of just more efficiency and better robots. And then you can start moving beyond flashy robots, right? So I hope you enjoyed watching that video. Now that's just a very brief preview of what PrismaX is doing. There's a lot of things that they're doing. So go check out roboticalpha.substack.com, and we go very, very deep into the whole coordination layer that they're building and the whole infrastructure stack they're building. And I'll see you in the next video.